Hi, my name is Stephen Rafferty, and you're watching These Are Questions. This is the internet show where I ask people questions about things, life, and such not. Today's guest is a talented writer, and she is the author of her book, Falling into Fire. Please welcome Kristina Smeriglio. Kristina, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for being a part of These Are Questions. Hope everything's going well with you today.
Thank you. Yes, hope everything's going well with you too.
Awesome. It is. It's pretty good. Not too bad today. Not too bad. I'm excited for this interview. It's going to be pretty good.
Thank you.
Hopefully. We'll see. I'm just kidding. It's going to be good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Before we get into the show itself, let me explain the rules of how These Are Questions works. Kristina, I'm going to ask you a series of questions that are going to be based around your career and aspirations, along with a mixture of questions that are borderline idiotic and, well, randomly stupid. Do you accept those terms?
Yes.
With that in mind, Kristina, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Internet, are you ready? I see the person over there. He gives me a thumbs up. We're ready to go. All right. With that in mind, let's begin. So, Kristina, tell me more about your journey into becoming a writer, and tell me how you got interested in the literary arts.
Okay, so I've always expressed myself through writing. The first time I ever truly expressed myself through writing was actually in middle school. I was going through a lot, and the way I found to really express myself was actually through poetry. Okay. So I loved to write poetry. I loved to kind of investigate my feelings through writing. And ever since then, it's been kind of like my go-to. Like I said, it's been my medium to express myself. It's been my medium to understand everything I'm going through. And I actually had majored in something else entirely in college. I had actually majored in psychology. Okay. And my goal in becoming a psychologist was to help people. And when it was time for graduate school, I did a lot of soul searching, and I thought, is this the best way I can help people? So I reflected on it, and I came to the conclusion, now's the time to pursue, other ways of helping people. I still love psychology, and it's actually a humongous part of my writing, especially this book. But I wanted to pursue that, because I had always been a writer, and I'm like, you know what, let's see about actually pursuing it as a career more than just my passion. I was like, you know what, maybe we can merge it. So that's when I applied for Nova, and I got into the master's in writing program there, and I loved it. So in writing that, in being a part of that program, I pursued different types of writing. And I started to fall in love with autobiography, memoir, and fantasy. And for my master's thesis, I ended up writing a fantasy, which was Hallowed Be Thy Fall, which Falling into Fire is the novelization of that story. So it kind of all started there, and now we turned it into a novel.
Wow.
So, yes.
That's amazing. What... From taking, no, seriously, it's amazing. The fact that you're able to incorporate stories that you had from your undergraduate and graduate successes and combining that together to form an actual novel. It's nothing short of amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's funny you mentioned Falling into Fire and briefly explaining how it kind of came together. We're both authors in our own respective genres, and I know how the process is in writing a book. It's no easy feat. Even if you have a collection of stories and kind of bringing everything together, it's still a process in itself. Can you help visualize your steps into writing your novel, Falling into Fire? And can you explain it to the viewers watching, especially those who have never written and actually produced and published a book before?
Yes. So as I told you, it was originally my master's thesis.
Right.
I wrote my master's thesis. It was actually titled Hallowed Be Thy Fall.
Right.
And that process was very extensive. It actually first began in my fiction class. I extended it. And through the master's thesis process, there was a lot of exploring the academic side, the different genres, the practices of the genre. But the story itself was a very emotional and personal one. Mm-hmm. And that process was intense, to say the least. It took a lot of, like I said, soul searching and diving into myself. Now, it is a fantasy, it is a fictionalized version of my experiences. However, it deeply ties and connects with my true real life experiences. So it was about taking real world events and dramatizing them for the sake of the story. So when my publisher, my now editor, signed me on, which is a funny story in and of itself, but he signed me on and he offered the book deal. Now it was taking the thesis and turning it into a novel. So that alone takes its processes. It's probably, quadrupled in length since the original conception. Mm-hmm. And it really has been about taking that core story and going section by section, those different scenes, and really diving into what is my character feeling? What is she thinking? And what am I really trying to say? So I was diving into those moments and really expanding. And my editor, Manuel Camacho, he really helped me along with that process. We meet regularly. We meet at least once, if not a few times a week, depending on what we're working on. Mm-hmm. And based on, his analysis of what I've produced, it's then, making the revisions and really diving deeper. So as a writer in general, I tend to write every day to some degree. For the story itself, it's about, like I said, what scene are we working on now? Sometimes it's just a scene will just be inspired in the moment, right? I'll see something, I'll feel something, and I'll get an inspiration right there. But sometimes it's just, now we're going to explore how she feels in this scenario. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's not even just about sitting down and typing, so I've noticed as a working person, it's not just, I have my desk and I sit there, right? I do have those moments. However, sometimes the moments hit like when I'm driving, when I'm on my way to my full-time job. And in those moments, I just grab my phone and I dictate. So it's about being open to those downloads and what wants to come up, and then taking a step back, looking at it, what we produce, making sure that it's a cohesive story, which, like I said, my editor helps me extensively with that as well, to kind of see whatever it is that I may have missed, or based on what I have come up with thus far, he's already gotten to know me well enough. We have a very close relationship that he knows where I'm going with that. And he kind of prompts me. So it really is, it's an intense process. Sometimes I have to immerse myself in nature, but my setting has a lot to do with nature. It is the garden. So, sometimes I'll be very method and stick myself in those areas. It really just depends on what I'm working on. But for me personally, like I said, I will just dive into a moment, dive into a feeling, dive into a thought, let it come out, or put myself in the most closely related scene or landscape related to my story, and just immersing myself in that world through the eyes of my character. So that's kind of like the process that I've gone through.
And I can relate a little bit with that because I know how delicate and intricate, or if that's the correct word, I would say like more how complex everything can be in terms of the beginning, middle, end of getting the story together, but also doing the behind the scenes overall production and creation of the book or of the novel itself. It is a quite jarring process. Not everyone can do it, and I can definitely relate to where ideas and just things can pop out of your mind, because that happens to me all the time, where sometimes I'm driving, sometimes I'm working on something else, and I'd be like, oh, I have $1 million idea. Let me write this down, or like on my phone. Let me put it on my phone real quick. Happens all the time. My next question is, would you rather be able to fly to different universes or be able to teleport to different periods of human history?
Teleport to different periods of U.S. history, of world history, any history, yes.
You can pick U.S. history.
I would definitely love to teleport to different times in history.
Okay. Any specific time?
I don't know why I came out, I don't know. But although I would actually think of European history, but U.S. history as well. I love history in general, both U.S., European, and I guess it would be African history, like Egyptian and ancient civilizations. So I'm really interested in those topics. So I would love to go to different periods of time to just really see how things were and experience them firsthand.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And see what the past taught us now in the present, and how the present is going to teach us to the future. Sure. So kind of the early stuff.
Yes.
My next question is, why do people like eating very spicy food?
Because they love torture. I don't know. I don't know why they like.
Okay, simple answer.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I've never been one to love spicy food, but sometimes I like flaming hot Cheetos, and sometimes I like to enjoy that sense of spice or that sense of adventure. Okay. Although I don't really typically like spicy food, but yeah, there's something about that little extra kick that kind of wakes up your senses in a way that maybe other foods wouldn't. You know, because sometimes you see if it's too spicy and you're grabbing water, you're grabbing this, and it's almost like this, I guess, adrenaline rush. So I think that maybe some people really enjoy that, you know?
Hey, to each is their own, you know?
Right? I mean, honestly, you know, I don't know.
I can't tell you. You said sense of adventure. That's a great name for a hot sauce bottle, you know? That would be a great name for a hot sauce.
Yes, it is.
Sense of adventure.
It would be, yeah.
Travel along to the sense of adventure with your taste buds, you know?
For sure. For sure. Sense of adventure, adrenaline rush. I don't know. I feel like if those don't exist, those are, you know, they're going to.
Next question, Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon?
Pokemon.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. No?
I actually have a favorite Pokemon.
Do you? What's your favorite one?
I do. Ninetales.
Okay.
Is my favorite.
That's a good one.
Yes.
What was it? My favorites are Squirtle and Blastoise. They're like the evolution of each other. I also like Machamp is good. And then you can't go. I actually I like Pikachu, but I also like Raichu, his evolutions.
Those are great. I mean, especially I love that first generation of Pokemon. I thought they were amazing.
So Kristina, what are your favorite genres of literature that you like to personally read?
So my favorites to read, my first favorite would actually be nonfiction.
Okay.
I love the nonfiction genre, especially autobiography and memoir. I really thoroughly enjoy living someone's life, you know, and their thoughts and their experiences. I actually incorporate a lot of that kind of material in my story, as far as the thought process and emotions and things like that. So I thoroughly enjoy those. And my second favorite, I actually do love to read fantasy.
Okay.
This is actually my first real piece of fantasy that I've written. But as far as reading, I've read a lot of fantasy. Like some of my favorite books are like Night Circus. I love the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. And I actually love vampires in general. So I watch a lot of movies and TV shows that are about vampires. So, you know, a little bit of both. So the nonfiction autobiography, as well as some psychology, philosophy, and then the fantasy.
Okay. If you had the chance to co-write a short story with, which literary author, past or present, would you collab with and why?
Well, my instincts would say is Anais Nin.
Mm-hmm.
She's always been very deep and passionate and sensual, and her writing always captivated me. And I've kind of always felt like we're like, I guess, kindred spirits in a way, you know, like her quotes and stuff I've always really appreciated. And she dives into humanity, I feel, in a very, like I said, sensual, deep, passionate way. You know, I feel like she's always wanted to live an extraordinary life. And I feel like she tapped into that feeling, you know, breaking away from the mundane and living epically. So I feel like her and I have a lot in common as far as our desires, our passions. So I think it would be interesting to see if we were to collab on a story, what that would look like.
I'm intrigued on that. I think that would be a very interesting concept, especially for a short story, because it's, I wouldn't say a challenge necessarily. It has its own merit, but there's like, I don't want to say limitations, but you have to think differently than exposed to like you have like a 500-page novel or 600-page novel. Like, you know, you have those confines a little bit.
For sure, because it's a shorter concept. So you would have to achieve a lot in a short amount of pages. So how that develops would be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You never know. You never know. You never know.
You never know.
Hey, we'll send it. We'll send it to her team. Okay. You never know. Hey,
exactly.
You never know.
You never know. You never know.
If you had the chance to write a nursery rhyme, who would be your main character, and what would you rhyme it with?
Really? That's a hard question. Oh man.
These are questions. Sometimes we give easy questions, sometimes hard questions, sometimes just questions.
Yeah. Oh man. I kind of want to say Mary the Fairy. I don't know, like
Mary the Fairy. There you go.
I don't know.
Mary the Fairy who doesn't like dairy.
Right? Or who really loves dairy.
Oh, okay.
It's on her berry. I don't know. She lives in a berry. Like she's very little, you know?
She's very little and lives in a berry.
Very little. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Some say that berry is rather really scary.
Right? Exactly. Oh man.
Could be here all day with that.
Right?
Kristina, I would like to ask you, what is your best quote you received in your writing career for someone who wanted to start writing, who's never written before but wants to get into actual literary writing?
So the quote that I've always been told that ended up truly applying this story, and I guess it's a variation because people, you know, change the quote all the time, but that there's nothing to writing, you just sit at the typewriter and bleed. Okay. I feel like that quote is truly what writing is. And I know that that's been attributed to, I actually, over the time, like I've learned that that's been attributed to several different people. And I think that it goes to show how important that concept is. You know, wherever it is that you're sitting, whether it is on a piece of paper, a typewriter, a laptop, your phone, it really is about pouring who you are into the page. You know, why else are we writing? You know, like we have so much to share as individuals. And I think that if you allow yourself to truly just be vulnerable and let your soul out and let your words pour from you, that's what writing is. And that's the gift that you have to share with the world. You know, you just have to sit there and let it out.
Hey, it's just that simple at the end of the day.
It is. It really is.
Yes, it is. But very wise quote. And I think it's a very relatable quote, especially for young writers that are trying to write their stories as best as they can based on whatever experiences that they may be currently dealing with. So
Exactly.
it's good words to live by.
Yes.
So I have one more question to ask you, Kristina.
Okay.
And this is a question that I'm asking every single guest on These Are Questions Season 3. I'm making a playlist this season, and I'm asking each guest to tell me, what are your top 5 favorite songs that define your personality?
It's actually like a really hard question.
Okay.
Because I love music.
Okay.
And I feel like there's a lot that could define my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I don't know who sings them. I would have to find them on my own playlist.
Okay.
But there's actually a song called Alchemy that there are no words, but there are different instruments. And I feel like it literally touches every part of my personality. Okay. You know, so that kind of varied aspect. But that's one song. I'm supposed to pick 5, you know?
Up to 5. I'm not going to be a stickler, you know, because I've had guests that have given, you know, different answers. I'm not going to spoil it here. You have to watch These Are Questions for those watching. Watch the rest of the episodes. But I would say up to 5. Like, you know, a couple songs that define your personality, you know, if you can.
So that's definitely one.
Okay.
Okay. I have one that I would say defines my old self. Okay. And particularly what I went through that people will experience in my book. It's called They Never Give All the Heart. It was actually one of the songs in the TV show Smash. Okay. That's supposed to be played by the Marilyn Monroe character. So that was one. Actually, like most of the songs in the Smash TV series, what I would say define my personality. Okay. But that was one that honestly truly hit home for me. So I would definitely say that that's one.
Okay.
That's another one. And let me see if I can think of at least one more. I feel like I've had so many favorite songs, and you know, I try to think. I would say I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston.
Classic. That's a classic right there. Classic song. Good choice. Good choice. She's someone that obviously gave her heart out to music, and you could tell by the songs that she wrote and sang. Good choice. Good choice. Good choices. See, wasn't so bad. Wasn't so bad at all.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, Kristina.
No, yeah, and honestly, you know, I'm probably gonna leave here and be like, man, I could have said that one, you know. But yes.
Listen, it's gonna happen at the end of this, after we're done with this interview, and you know, the viewers watching, whatever, everything's done, and be like, oh, I remember this song. Oh, I remember this song. Oh yeah, what did I say about this song? Happens all the time.
Exactly. I'm gonna be like, man, I could have mentioned that, but honestly, I'm a firm believer in what comes through is most prominent. You know, so those are the ones that want to come through. So I would say definitely those are at the top of that list.
Yes. Definitely. It was meant to be said here on this interview of These Are Questions.
Exactly.
With that, Kristina, you have made it to the end of our interview here on These Are Questions Season 3. The floor is yours. Is there anything that you want to say, any advice, anything you want to say to the viewers watching or listening at wherever they're listening or watching to?
I would say, as far as writing is concerned, I truly feel that everyone has a story to share. I know that not everyone may consider themselves professional writers. I know, you know, it's definitely an art that not everyone pursues. But I truly firmly believe everyone has a story within them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if everyone gives themselves a chance to explore themselves through that medium, they'll discover a lot about who they are. And I really tried to do that with Falling into Fire. It was my way of taking that deep dive into myself, into my experiences through the medium of writing, particularly fiction and fantasy writing, which that on its own provided a whole slew of resources that might not have been available to me otherwise. And I truly believe that if everyone gives themselves that kind of a chance, they will really discover something. So hopefully in my book, even in reading, this is something that we all go through when we read books. Everyone has different engagements with the books that they read, but when we really allow ourselves to absorb the information and integrate the information, a metamorphosis happens. So if we really trust the process through reading and writing, I think that beautiful discoveries can be made, and it's what dreams and humanity are made of. So I love to write. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to write and share my writing with the world now through Falling into Fire. So I'm just really excited to share with everybody. And I hope to see more people being inspired to write and share their stories.
Very, very nice words to cap off this interview. And we're going to have all the links down in the descriptions wherever you're watching or listening, for my links, but also for Kristina's links, and to purchase Falling into Fire. By the time this interview comes out, the book will be fully out and be available to purchase, so be able to purchase her works and definitely support her literary journey. So with that, Kristina, thank you so much for being a part of These Are Questions Season 3. And with that, I'm going to say a good night, a goodbye, a good morning, a good afternoon, depending on who's watching and when you're watching this. And you and this world, everyone has been watching These Are Questions. Goodbye, good morning, hello, good afternoon. Hope you're enjoying your day, everyone, or night. I don't know when you're watching this show. Who knows when you're watching this? You could be watching the show at 6:21 in the morning in I don't know, Australia. Who knows? Shout out to the Australian viewers.
Yes.
Shout out to all the viewers, everyone. Thank you.
Yes.